You feed him every morning before you even pour your own coffee. You walk him in the rain, in the cold, in the heat. You keep him warm at night, maybe even give up your own blanket so he's comfortable. You give him love in the way you know best, and in return, he gives you that look, the one that says you're his whole world. But what if I told you some of the foods you give him out of love, or at least allow in his bowl, might actually be hurting him from the inside out? Foods that seem harmless, even healthy, could be slowly damaging his gut, making him uncomfortable, or setting him up for serious illness down the road. It's not just about what's in his bowl. It's not about how much you walk him or how clean his water dish is. This goes deeper into the very lining of his intestines, where trillions of tiny bacteria decide whether he thrives or suffers. Here's the part that shocks most owners. Over 80% of people feed their dogs at least one of these harmful foods without even realizing it. Not because they don't care, no, because no one ever told them the truth. I've seen the results in my years of veterinary work. Dogs with recurring diarrhea, unexplained vomiting, acid reflux, bloating, even heart issues, all traced back to the same few foods. The good news: for every food you should never feed, there's a safe gut-healing alternative that can bring his digestion back to balance. Today, I'm going to walk you through the 9 everyday foods you should never feed your dog and exactly what to give instead. No special equipment, no complicated recipes, just simple swaps you can make right now, starting with something that might be sitting in your kitchen this very minute. The first one smells fresh to you, looks harmless, even healthy, but inside your dog's stomach, it's pure acid. Food number 1: citrus fruits, lemons, oranges, limes. You know that smell when you cut open a fresh lemon. Sharp, clean, almost makes your mouth water. To us, it's refreshing. But to a dog with a sensitive stomach, it's like pouring gasoline on a campfire that's already burning too hot. I've had older clients come in, men who've had dogs their whole lives, swearing that a little squeeze of lemon in the water bowl cleans out the system. One of them, a retired firefighter, told me his dad used to do it for every dog they owned. And maybe those dogs seemed fine, until they weren't. Here's what's really happening. Citrus fruits, lemons, oranges, limes are highly acidic. In a dog that's already prone to acid reflux, they tip the balance toward constant irritation. The acid splashes up into the esophagus, leaving them licking their lips, swallowing hard, sometimes coughing for no reason you can see. Inside the lining of their stomach is inflamed, working overtime just to settle after every meal. I once treated a shepherd mix named Duke. Big, solid boy, the kind that used to run alongside his owner's truck. His acid reflux got so bad, he stopped greeting at the door. He'd just stay on his bed after dinner, staring at the wall. His owner thought it was age, but when we cut out the daily orange slices he'd been given as a healthy treat, the change was almost immediate. Within 2 weeks, Duke was back at the door, tail thumping. So if citrus is off the table, what's a better choice? Bananas. Soft, sweet, easy to chew, even for older dogs. They're alkaline, which means instead of adding to the acid, they help calm it down. They've also got amylase, a natural enzyme that helps break down starch. Give about 1/4 of a banana for every 20 pounds of body weight once a day. It's gentle, gut-friendly, and your dog will think it's dessert. Now, if citrus can do that kind of damage just from its acidity, imagine what happens when you deliberately add another acidic ingredient into his diet thinking it's helping. And that's exactly where we're headed next. Food number 2: apple cider vinegar. You've probably seen it 100 times, somebody online swearing by apple cider vinegar as the cure for everything. Bad joints, ACV, low energy ACV, Even for dogs, people claim it'll boost metabolism, keep their coat shiny, maybe even fight infections. And I get it. When you love your dog, you want to believe in simple fixes. But here's the truth most people don't hear for a dog. With even mild acid reflux, adding apple cider vinegar is like pouring more water into a bucket that's already overflowing. You're not solving the problem, you're making the flood worse. I had a client, Joe, a 68-year-old retired trucker. He'd started adding a splash of ACV to his lab's food every night after reading about its health benefits. Within a month, the dog was licking her lips constantly after meals, swallowing like she was trying to keep something down, sometimes even pacing the kitchen at night. Joe thought it was just old age restlessness. But when we pulled the ACV out of her diet, the symptoms vanished. Here's why. ACV is highly acidic. Dogs' stomachs already have plenty of acid to break down their food too much, and it starts climbing up into the esophagus. Over time, that constant irritation can lead to inflammation, discomfort, even ulcers. And because reflux doesn't always look dramatic, sometimes it's just a quiet dog lying down. After eating, owners miss the signs until it's been going on for months. So what's a better way to get the benefits without the burn-fresh ginger? It's alkaline, so it helps neutralize stomach acid instead of adding more. It's anti-inflammatory, which means it calms the gut lining. And it's been used for centuries to ease nausea and improve digestion. One of my favorite ways to give it: slice a teaspoon of fresh ginger into a cup of water, let it sit, then pour it into your dog's water bowl. Add a small drizzle of honey to make it more appealing. You've now turned his water into a gentle gut tonic he actually enjoys drinking. If ACV is bad because of its acidity, you might be wondering, what about foods that aren't acidic but are loaded with fat? Surely that's safer. Right. Well, that's where a lot of people get into serious trouble without realizing it. Food number 3, bacon and high-fat meats. You know the scene: you're cooking breakfast. There's a couple strips of bacon left, and he's sitting right there, eyes locked on you, like you're the only thing that matters in the world. You think, what's the harm? One little piece won't hurt him. I used to think the same until I saw what happens inside. High-fat foods like bacon aren't just rich. They hit your dog's pancreas like a freight train. That pancreas has to pump out a flood of enzymes all at once to break down the fat. And when those enzymes spill out, they don't just digest food, they can start irritating the pancreas itself, leading to a condition called pancreatitis. I treated a Labrador named Max one winter. His owner, a retired Marine, had given him bacon from his breakfast almost every day for years. Max started vomiting one morning, nothing unusual, the owner thought, but by the afternoon, he was hunched, shaking in real pain. We got him into the clinic, ran the tests, and his pancreas was in full-blown inflammation. He spent 3 days on fluids and pain meds before he could eat again. Even if pancreatitis doesn't hit right away, fatty foods can still wreak havoc on the gut. The sudden rush of enzymes can irritate the intestinal lining, trigger diarrhea, and make existing digestive issues a whole lot worse. So, what's the safer swap: lean boiled chicken breast or turkey? It's easy on the gut, low in fat, and still feels like a treat to your dog. You can even keep small pieces in the fridge ready to hand over when those big eyes lock on you at the breakfast table. And here's a tip from years of practice: when you give treats like chicken, think small. Dogs live in the moment. They don't measure joy by ounces. A tiny piece is enough to make them feel included without overloading their system. Now you might be thinking, okay, so avoid the fatty stuff. I'll stick to regular dog food. That's got to be safe, right? If only it were that simple. What's hiding inside some kibbles might surprise you even more than the bacon did. Food number 4, low-quality processed kibble. It's easy to think that if it comes in a bag with a picture of a happy dog on the front, it's got to be safe. After all, they sell it in every grocery store, every big box pet shop. But here's what most people don't realize. Some kibbles are more chemistry experiment than nutrition. I still remember the first time I really looked at what was in a bag of budget kibble a client brought me. Bright red and green bits, uniform little shapes, that sweet smell from the artificial flavoring. To make kibble like that, the ingredients are cooked at high temperatures and high pressure, stripped of much of their natural nutrition, and then sprayed with fats, colors, and preservatives to make it look and smell appealing to you, not to your dog. One of my clients, Bill, a retired mechanic, had been feeding the same low-cost kibble to his shepherd mix for years. The dog had chronic loose stools, occasional vomiting, and Bill just thought, that's just how his stomach is. We switched him to a high-quality, minimally processed food, and within 3 weeks the change was obvious: firmer stools, more energy, a shinier coat. The problem with low-quality kibble isn't just the artificial additives. It's the cheap fillers, corn-wheat middlings, byproducts, that can irritate the gut, upset the microbiome, and offer little in the way of real nutrition. Over time, that constant irritation can lead to inflammation, which sets the stage for bigger health problems. If you want to stick with kibble, and for a lot of owners that's practical, look for one that's free from artificial colors and preservatives, made with whole protein sources, and ideally not cooked to death. Better yet, consider rotating in some home-cooked meals or fresh food toppers to bring back real nutrition. And don't just trust the front of the bag, turn it over and read the ingredients. If you see a long list of things you can't pronounce, that's a red flag. You might be thinking, all right, I'll watch out for the additives. But what if one of the top ingredients is something that's been in dog food for decades and could be carrying an invisible danger from the farm all the way to your kitchen? Food number 5, corn low quality. GMO corn sounds harmless, right? We eat it at barbecues from the can in chips, and it's been in dog food for as long as most of us can remember. But here's the thing. Dogs aren't built to digest corn the way we are, especially not the kind of corn that ends up in low-quality kibble. A lot of the corn in mass-market dog food isn't fresh from the cob. It's ground-up, processed, and often genetically modified. That means there's a higher chance it's been sprayed with herbicides like glyphosate Roundup, which can linger all the way into your dog's bowl. And here's the kicker. Corn isn't just hard to digest, it offers very little nutrition for a dog's body to work with. So they're straining their gut for not much return. I treated a border collie named Sam, belonged to a retired firefighter who swore by a trusted brand he'd fed for 20 years. Sam had constant bloating, gurgling stomach noises and bouts of diarrhea. We switched him off that corn-heavy kibble, replaced it with a sweet potato-based diet, and within 2 weeks, the bloating stopped. His owner said he's acting 5 years younger. Sweet potatoes are a great alternative. They're easy to digest, packed with fiber, and full of natural anti-inflammatory compounds like anthocyanins. They give steady energy without spiking blood sugar, and they're gentle on even a sensitive gut. Here's what I tell people if you see corn listed in the top 2 ingredients on the bag. Especially if it's just labeled corn with no detail, it's time to think twice. That spot should belong to a real meat source or a gut-friendly carb like sweet potato. And if you think corn is bad, wait until you hear about another ingredient that's become trendy in grain-free dog foods. It's marketed as a health upgrade, but for many dogs, it's even harder on their digestion, and it might be putting their heart at risk. Food number 6. Legumes, peas, lentils, chickpeas, grain-free. Sounds healthy, right? That's exactly what a lot of dog food ads want you to think. Swap the grains for peas or lentils, and suddenly it's premium. But here's the problem. Just because something's trendy doesn't mean it's good for your dog's gut. Legumes like peas, lentils, and chickpeas contain compounds called phytates. These bind to important minerals like iron, zinc, and calcium, making it harder for your dog to absorb them. Over time, that means they can be eating plenty, but still missing out on the nutrients their body needs. And there's another issue. Legumes are hard for many dogs to digest. They can cause gas, bloating, and discomfort, things that are easy to miss if you just assume your dog is a little gassy or likes to nap after meals. In some cases, diets high in legumes have been linked to a serious heart condition called dilated cardiomyopathy, or DCM. I had a case with a golden retriever named Buddy. His owner, a retired Navy vet, had switched him to a grain-free pea-heavy Kibble because it sounded healthier. Within months, Buddy was lethargic, not interested in his evening walks, and had a bloated belly. We changed his diet to include more digestible, nutrient-rich vegetables like kale, and the difference was remarkable. His energy came back, his belly settled, and his coat looked better than it had in years. Kale is a great alternative. It's nutrient-dense, packed with flavonoids, and has a unique sugar that works as a natural prebiotic, feeding the good bacteria in your dog's gut. You don't need much, just a teaspoon of chopped kale per 10 pounds of body weight is enough to make a difference. So here's the takeaway. If peas or lentils are one of the first 3 ingredients on your dog food bag, it's worth rethinking. You might be doing more harm than good in the long run. And if legumes can mess with nutrient absorption, imagine what straight-up sugar does to a dog's gut. The next food on our list is one of the most common love treats people give their dogs, and it's quietly fueling inflammation from the inside out. Food number 7. High-sugar snacks. Cookies, cakes. It starts so innocently. You're sitting at the table with a plate of cookies, maybe a slice of cake. He's right there under your elbow tail, wagging eyes fixed on you like you're the last man standing in his world. And you think one bite won't hurt. He's been so good today. Here's the thing. Dogs aren't built to handle refined sugar. Every time they get it, it spikes their blood sugar, feeds the wrong kind of bacteria in their gut, and kicks off inflammation that can travel far beyond the digestive system. Over time, those sugar hits can contribute to obesity, joint problems, skin flare-ups, and, of course, more digestive issues. I remember a shepherd mix named Ranger, whose owner, a retired lineman, used to give him a piece of his morning cinnamon roll to share breakfast together. Ranger started having recurring yeast infections in his ears and paw pads along with loose stools. We cut the sugar out, added gut-friendly fiber from apples and other fresh fruits, and within a month, the infections stopped coming back. The gut microbiome, the trillions of tiny organisms that live inside your dog, thrives on balance. Sugar tips that balance the wrong way. The bad bacteria grow stronger, crowding out the beneficial ones, and that can make your dog more prone to diarrhea, gas, and even behavior changes from gut-related discomfort. If you want to share something sweet with your dog, apple slices are a far better choice. They're naturally sweet, full of fiber, and contain polyphenols in the peel that help reduce gut inflammation. Just make sure to remove the seeds, as they contain compounds that aren't good for dogs. So here's the bottom line. Those little sugary bites you give out of love might be quietly making your dog less comfortable in his own body. And while sugar can disrupt the gut, the next item on our list can actually damage your dog's blood from the inside out, even in tiny amounts. Food number 8. Onions and garlic. This one catches a lot of people off guard. Onions and garlic feel like such normal parts of our own meals. It's easy to forget they're toxic to dogs. I've had plenty of folks tell me I just gave him a bite of stew or he licked the plate after spaghetti night. And they have no idea they might have just set off a chain reaction inside his blood. Here's what happens. Both onions and garlic contain compounds called thiosulfates. In humans, they're harmless, but in dogs they attach to red blood cells and cause oxidative damage, making those cells rupture and die off faster than the body can replace them. That condition is called hemolytic anemia, and it can sneak up on you. Sometimes the signs are subtle. Your dog might seem tired, breathing faster, maybe his gums look a little pale. Other times, it's a crisis, and they need a blood transfusion to survive. And the scary part, it doesn't take much. A small amount, especially if fed regularly, can build up damage over time. I'll never forget a beagle named Rusty. His owner, a retired postal worker, used to slip him bits of garlic bread when they watched TV together. One day, Rusty collapsed in the yard. Blood tests showed his red cell count had dropped dangerously low. We managed to pull him through, but it was a close call, and all from something as innocent as a shared snack. If you want a crunchy, flavorful treat to give your dog, try carrots instead. They're safe, they support dental health, and they're full of beta-carotene, which the body turns into vitamin A for healthy eyes and skin. So while onions and garlic can slowly drain the oxygen from your dog's blood, the next and final food on our list takes a different route. It attacks the gut itself, leaving behind a mess of diarrhea gas and discomfort, all from something we think of as a childhood comfort. Food number 9. Dairy products. Milk cream. There's something about sharing ice cream on a summer day, or giving a lick of whipped cream off your coffee. It feels like love. In its purest form, you're letting him join in on one of life's simple pleasures. But here's the thing for most adult dogs, milk and cream aren't treats, they're trouble. Many dogs are lactose intolerant, which means their bodies don't make enough of the enzyme lactase to break down lactose, the sugar in milk. Without that enzyme, the lactose just sits in the gut, drawing in water and fermenting. That's why a few hours after a dairy snack, you might notice loose stools, gas bloating, or a dog that just doesn't seem quite himself. I saw it with a senior collie named Jasper. His owner, a retired school teacher, had a ritual every Friday night. They'd share a big bowl of vanilla ice cream. Jasper loved it, but by Saturday morning he'd be pacing, asking to go out again and again, his stomach gurgling loud enough to hear from across the room. We cut out the ice cream, swapped it for a gut-friendly alternative, and just like that, the Saturday morning emergencies disappeared. The tricky part is that dairy problems aren't always obvious. Some dogs handle small amounts fine until one day they don't. And by then, the gut lining may already be inflamed, making them more sensitive to other foods as well. But here's the good news. If you want to give your dog something creamy and delicious, there's a safe option. Unsweetened natural yogurt. It still has that satisfying texture, but the fermentation process breaks down most of the lactose, making it easier to digest. On top of that, yogurt is packed with probiotics like lactobacillus and bifidobacterium good bacteria that help balance your dog's gut microbiome. And that brings us full circle. We've talked about 9 everyday foods that can damage your dog's intestinal health. Now it's time to rebuild. In the next part, I'll show you exactly what to give. Instead, simple, natural foods that can heal the gut, fight inflammation, and help your dog feel better from the inside out. Gut healing food. Number 1. Raw honey. If there's one thing I've learned over decades of treating dogs, it's that the simplest things often do the most good. Raw honey is one of them. Not the processed stuff in a squeeze bottle shaped like a bear. Real, local, unpasteurized honey. Honey works in 3 big ways for your dog's gut. First, it's a natural prebiotic. That means it feeds the good bacteria already living inside him, helping them grow stronger, so they can keep the bad guys in check. Second, honey contains enzymes like amylase that help break down carbohydrates, taking some of the workload off your dog's digestive system. And third, it's antibacterial, powerful enough to fight off some of the pathogens that can upset his stomach. I had a client, a retired firefighter named Mark, with an old lab named Cody, who had chronic mild diarrhea. Nothing severe enough for the emergency room, but enough to keep both of them up at night. We added a quarter teaspoon of raw honey to Cody's food each day, just enough for his size, and within 2 weeks, his stools were firm, and his energy was better than it had been in months. You don't need much, about a quarter teaspoon per 10 to 20 pounds of body weight. And because it's sweet, most dogs think it's a treat. It's one of those small, easy wins that can make a big difference. Now, if honey can help that much by feeding good bacteria, imagine what happens when we pair it with something that not only soothes the gut, but also fights nausea and inflammation head-on. That's where our next food comes in. Gut-healing food number 2. Fresh ginger. Ginger is one of those ingredients most of us keep in the kitchen for ourselves, maybe for cooking, maybe for settling our own stomachs. But it turns out, when used right, it can do the same for your dog. The beauty of ginger is in its versatility. It's alkaline, which means it helps neutralize excess stomach acid, a blessing for dogs prone to reflux. It's also anti-inflammatory, calming irritation along the digestive tract. And then there's its long history as an anti-nausea remedy. People have been using it for thousands of years to keep the stomach settled, and dogs respond much the same way. I remember a shepherd mix named Bailey, who belonged to a retired Navy chief. Bailey would sometimes just sit after dinner, licking her lips, swallowing like she was trying to keep something down. Her owner thought it was just a quirk. But when we looked closer, it was mild acid reflux. We started giving her ginger-infused water, a teaspoon of fresh ginger sliced into a cup of water, swapped for her regular water once a day. And the difference was night and day. The lip-licking stopped, she seemed more comfortable, and she even drank more water, which helped her overall digestion. You can make ginger water at home in minutes. And here's a trick: add a small drizzle of that raw honey we talked about earlier. Not only does it make the ginger water more appealing, but you're stacking the benefits, soothing inflammation, feeding good gut bacteria, and supporting digestion all at once. And if ginger can calm a stomach already in distress, our next food works a different angle. It builds resilience in the gut by delivering enzymes, fiber, and a natural alkalizing effect, all in a package most dogs love. Gut-healing food. Number 3, bananas and apples. Bananas are one of those foods that feel almost made for dogs with sensitive stomachs. Soft, easy to chew, naturally sweet, and most importantly, alkaline. That means instead of adding to stomach acid, they help calm it down. They also contain amylase, the enzyme that helps break down carbohydrates, giving your dog's digestive system a little extra help with every bite. I had a client, a retired steelworker named Frank, whose beagle had occasional reflux. Frank used to give him banana slices in the evening instead of store-bought treats. Within a couple of weeks, the nighttime coughing and lip-licking had faded away. He's finally sleeping through the night, Frank told me. And so am I. Apples work differently, but just as effectively. The peel contains polyphenols, powerful plant compounds that fight inflammation in the gut, especially in cases of IBD. Apples are also high in fiber, which helps normalize digestion, whether your dog tends toward constipation or loose stools. And some of that fiber works as a prebiotic, feeding the good bacteria in the intestines. Just remember to remove the seeds; they contain compounds that aren't safe for dogs. For a medium-sized dog, a quarter of a banana or a quarter of an apple a day is plenty. Now, if bananas and apples build up gut health with gentle sweetness and fiber, the next food on our list tackles digestion from a completely different angle, fighting acidity head-on while delivering hydration and prebiotic power in every bite. Gut-healing food freak for 4. Cucumbers and kale. If your dog struggles with acid reflux, cucumber might be one of the simplest and most effective things you can offer. It's over 90% water, so every bite delivers instant hydration and helps dilute excess stomach acid. I've seen dogs go from restless and uncomfortable after meals to calm and settled just by adding cucumber slices to their daily routine. A retired park ranger named Bill brought in his shepherd Molly, who had started refusing her evening walk. We discovered she was dealing with mild reflux. Bill began giving her a few thin slices of cucumber after dinner, and within days she was back to wagging at the door ready for that walk again. Cucumber is also a decent source of fiber, helping regulate bowel movements and feeding beneficial gut bacteria. And here's the beauty: you can't really overdo it. For a 30-pound dog, a quarter of a cucumber a day is perfectly safe. Kale, on the other hand, is like the heavyweight champion of nutrient density. It's packed with flavonoids, iron, and a unique sugar that acts as a potent prebiotic. That means it's not just providing nutrition, it's actively helping the good bacteria in your dog's gut grow stronger. And for dogs with allergic skin issues, the anti-inflammatory benefits of kale can be a game changer. You don't need much. About a teaspoon of finely chopped kale per 10 pounds of body weight is enough to see the benefits. If cucumber and kale bring hydration, fiber, and prebiotics to the table, the next gut-friendly food takes a different route. It delivers live armies of beneficial bacteria directly into your dog's system, bacteria that can outcompete harmful microbes and help restore balance from the inside out. Gut-healing food. On 5. Unsweetened yogurt. Sometimes the best medicine isn't a pill at all. It's a spoonful of something simple, creamy, and full of life. That's what unsweetened natural yogurt can be for your dog's gut. Yogurt is packed with probiotics, good bacteria like lactobacillus and bifidobacterium. These aren't dog-specific strains, but they still work to restore balance in the gut, crowding out harmful microbes and supporting digestion. For dogs with ongoing diarrhea, or after a round of antibiotics, adding probiotics can be the difference between weeks of stomach trouble and a quick recovery. I remember a small terrier named Daisy, owned by a retired mail carrier. Daisy had recurring yeast infections in her ears and was prone to loose stools. We started adding a teaspoon of plain yogurt to her food each morning. No sugar, no flavors, just pure cultured milk. Within a month, her stools were firm, her ears cleared up, and her owner swore she had more spring in her step. The key here is unsweetened and natural. Many store-bought yogurts are loaded with sugar or artificial sweeteners like xylitol, which is toxic to dogs. Stick with the plain stuff and start small. About a teaspoon per 10 pounds of body weight is plenty. And while yogurt works by delivering friendly bacteria directly, our next gut-friendly food takes a different path. It's a slow-burning source of energy, rich in fiber, and full of compounds that calm inflammation from the inside out. Gut-healing food. Vertex, sweet potato. Sweet potato is one of those foods that seems almost too simple to be powerful. But for a dog's gut, it's a quiet hero. It's a rich source of fiber which helps keep bowel movements regular, and it's gentle enough for dogs with sensitive digestion. The natural starches in sweet potatoes are slow to break down, giving your dog steady energy without the blood sugar spikes that can come from refined carbs. But here's where sweet potatoes really shine. They contain anthocyanins, plant compounds with strong anti-inflammatory properties, especially concentrated in the skin. For dogs dealing with IBD or chronic gut irritation, this can help calm the inflammation and give the intestinal lining a chance to heal. A retired firefighter I know, Tom, had a golden retriever named Maggie. with occasional bouts of diarrhea and gas. He started adding a tablespoon of mashed sweet potato to her meals, and within a week, her stools were firmer, and her bloating had disappeared. She's not just eating better, Tom said she's moving better too. It's easy to prepare, just bake or boil until soft, mash it, and let it cool before serving. A tablespoon for every 20 pounds of body weight is plenty. And don't throw away the skin, that's where many of the anti-inflammatory compounds live. Sweet potatoes feed the good bacteria already in your dog's gut, making them stronger. But if you really want to supercharge that process, our next food doesn't just feed the good bacteria, it creates the perfect environment for them to thrive. Gut-healing food. Number 7. Ground flax seed. If I had to pick one small, unassuming ingredient that punches way above its weight for gut health, it would be ground flax seed. Tiny little seeds, but once you grind them, they become a powerhouse of fiber-healthy fats and plant compounds your dog's body will thank you for. First, the fiber. Flax seed is rich in both soluble and insoluble fiber, which means it not only keeps things moving smoothly through the gut, but also helps bulk up stools in a gentle way. That's why it can be so helpful for dogs with chronic anal gland problems. Regular, firm bowel movements naturally help those glands empty. Then there are the omega-3 fatty acids. These healthy fats fight inflammation from the inside out, soothing irritated gut tissue and supporting skin and coat health at the same time. And flax seed contains lignans plant compounds with proven anti-cancer properties, especially for certain types of mammary tumors. I had a client, a retired carpenter named Ed, whose spaniel had recurring anal gland infections. We added just a quarter teaspoon of ground flaxseed to her meals each day. Nothing else changed. Within a month, no more scooting, no swelling, and a much happier dog. The key is grinding the flax seed fresh, or buying it already ground. Whole seeds often pass right through without being digested, and you lose most of the benefit. Start small, about a quarter teaspoon per cup of food, and work up slowly. Flaxseed is one of those rare foods that supports digestion, reduces inflammation, and even helps prevent certain diseases. But sometimes you want something that's not just functional, it's also a comfort food. That's exactly what our final gut-healing food offers, and it's been a quiet staple in veterinary care for decades. Gut-healing food, Waren through 8. Pumpkin might not be something you think of every day, unless it's Halloween, but for your dog's gut, it's a quiet workhorse. It's rich in soluble fiber, which means when it hits the digestive tract, it absorbs water and turns into a gentle gel-like substance. That helps bulk up loose stools without being harsh, and it can also make things easier to pass if your dog is constipated. I once treated a senior husky named Luna, whose owner, a retired bus driver, was at his wit's end. Luna alternated between diarrhea and constipation, and nothing seemed to stick. We added a tablespoon of canned pumpkin to her dinner, and within 2 weeks, she was regular again. It's like her whole mood changed, he told me. She's more relaxed, even sleeps better. Pumpkin also delivers beta-carotene, a powerful antioxidant that reduces inflammation, especially in the gut. And because it's naturally sweet, but low in calories, most dogs take to it right away. Just make sure you're using plain canned pumpkin, not the sweetened pie filling that's loaded with sugar and spices. A tablespoon per 20 pounds of body weight is plenty. You can even freeze it in small portions for convenience. Pumpkin is often one of the first foods I recommend to clients dealing with gut trouble because it's affordable, widely available, and safe for long-term use. And now, with all 8 of these gut-healing foods in your toolkit, you've got more than just a list, you've got a way to actively protect and restore your dog's digestive health. But knowing what to do is only half the battle. The real change happens when you start making those swaps, removing the 9 everyday foods we talked about earlier, and replacing them with these gut-friendly options. Let's bring it all together. So, now you know. 9 everyday foods that, no matter how harmless they look, can quietly tear down your dog's digestive health: citrus fruits, apple cider vinegar bacon, and high-fat meats, low-quality kibble corn, legumes, sugary snacks, onions, and garlic, and dairy products. And you also know there's a better way. 8 simple natural foods you can start using today to protect and rebuild his gut: raw honey, fresh ginger bananas, and apples cucumbers, and kale unsweetened yogurt, sweet potato ground flaxseed, and pumpkin. This isn't about becoming the perfect dog owner overnight. It's about making one small change at a time, knowing that each swap you make, from a slice of bacon to a piece of banana, from a spoonful of ice cream to a spoonful of yogurt, is a step toward a healthier, more comfortable life for the dog who trusts you with everything. I've treated dogs for decades, and I can tell you this: what you feed is one of the most powerful ways to change the course of their health. I've seen older dogs get their energy back, stubborn stomach issues disappear, and that spark in their eyes return, all because their owner made the decision to feed them better. So here's my challenge to you: pick one harmful food your dog gets now, and replace it with one gut-healing food from this list. Start today. Watch closely, and see how even a small change can ripple through the way he moves, plays, and greets you at the door. If you found this guide helpful, share it with another dog owner, especially someone who might be unknowingly feeding their dog one of these harmful foods. And if you want more tips on keeping your dog healthy, naturally hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss the next lesson. Because at the end of the day, it's not just about avoiding sickness, it's about giving them the best life we can for as long as we can. And that starts with what's in their bowl.